everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the Coaches Show, Football Edition again with Coach Quinlan. Before we get a chance to talk to Coach Quinlan, we're going to turn it over to Jarren for a little tea with McTee. And this week he's got a couple of special guests. We have a state participant, and Aubrey Varner is going to be going and running the cross-country state track meet. And she's going to be joined by Coach Oak. So Jarren, take it away.
Coach, what do you believe is the greatest challenge athletes face today?
Time management. I think they struggle with making enough time to fit everything in, from classwork to family to working out.
Coach London, where is the next meet?
In Round Rock, the state meet.
Aubrey, how do you keep warm when it's cold?
I have to warm up a lot, run a lot of miles before we race, and I wear warmer clothes most of the time.
Aubrey, what kind of shoes do you run in?
I don't know. In meets, I wear race spikes, so like in track, you know. And then in practice, I switch out my shoes depending on what we're doing.
Aubrey, do you imagine you're being chased by a serial killer when you run?
Maybe sometimes, if the workout's hard and I need something to keep me going. Maybe.
Aubrey, do you have a pre-race ritual?
The night before a race, I eat the same pasta. I've been doing that for a couple years now. And then in the morning, I drink the same drink, and I eat a granola bar every day. And I listen to the same music before I run.
Thank you for sitting down with me today.
Thank you, Jarren.
Thank you.
So, Coach, not really sure where to start. Again, we showed that first half kind of tendency, a lot stronger in the first half than the second half. You know, we've talked about it last week about, you know, there being some depth issues and just concentration issues. You saw the film. I mean, is there anything else jumping out at you that?
No, I mean, it's the same things that we've been having. You know, we were beat up a little bit last week with the stomach bug and lost some kids that lost a lot of reps. And when you're young, losing reps in practice hurts you bad. So, you know, we dealt with that all week long. And then, you know, we've had a couple injuries at some key spots that they didn't get a bunch of reps last week, and it ultimately just showed up on Friday night. And that's the bad part about it, is sometimes when you don't get those reps, it hurts you.
You mentioned last night at the bonfire about you can't always look at the scoreboard to tell if you're getting better, you know, if you're growing. You're bringing back, 10 out of 11 kids on the offense next year, right? And the offense right now is not necessarily clicking. They're still trying to find their way. Every game seems like trying to find a different rhythm of what's going to work for them. But let's talk about the growth that you've seen there. What are you expecting to see against Sanger and just kind of moving forward in general?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the growth that's happening is stuff that is not going to show up on the scoreboard. I mean, it's learning how to practice. It's learning how to act, learning how me and our coaching staff want us to attack every day, and the attitude that it takes to be a winner and those things. So, you know, there's going to be ups and downs when you're doing that, and there's a lot of hills to climb when you're talking about learning how to win. And I think our kids are doing a really good job of taking those steps, but it's a slow process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. We've got 9 of 11 coming back. We'll lose Colton Harvin and Jacob Toll as starters.
Sure.
But those guys are key components to us. So those will be big ones to replace, absolutely, going forward. But I think that, you know, the core of that offense is there, and it's going to be something that as it gets stronger in the weight room, we learn some more discipline in off season. We learn to handle the chaos that sometimes we don't handle very well.
Right.
I think that those things are taught in off season, and once we get those things taught through this next off season, that we'll have a lot of growth going into next year.
Well, and you're right. There's no substitute for experience. You just get it, right? You just have to earn that. You just can't have it all of a sudden. So during the game last week, during the broadcast, we mentioned a couple of times about the wind, and that it did affect some of the passing game. Obviously, you could see some of the plays. I don't know if it affected the play calling or not. And then the weather for this weekend, for Friday, is supposed to be worse than it was. So how do you guys take that into consideration when you're preparing for this game.
Yeah, and we did some wet ball stuff this week just to kind of get, used to snapping a wet ball and handling a wet football, throwing a wet football. A lot of it's mentality, and we talked a little bit about that this morning in our walkthrough, and being mentally prepared for it. It's coming. Be mentally prepared for it, and hoping that Sanger shows up and have to get off a bus after a 2-hour bus ride, and they're going to get here early. I think they said they're going to be here at 4 or 4:30, so they're going to be here real early.
Sitting around a lot.
Sitting around a lot, and then and then getting out and being wet and cold and dealing with all that and not really wanting to be here. So we got a big night with it being homecoming. We got a big night with it being senior night. We got to celebrate those 9 seniors that we have on the varsity that have done a lot for this program the last 4 years, and we want to send them out with the win and walking off of Farmersville at the Farmer Stadium with the W, and I think that's important, and it's important for those young guys to understand how important it is to them because it's coming for them too.
That's exactly right. Well, and you mentioned Sanger. Let's talk about them real quick. So you kind of mentioned they're kind of one of those that's kind of in the middle of the district, and they can be really good in some games. They can be beatable in other games. What are you kind of expecting? What are you guys doing to prepare?
They're got a very good quarterback that runs the ball really well. He's a thicker kid. He
not easy to bring down.
Yeah, not easy to bring down. I know Coach Blasingham's got a good game plan for him and ready to attack them in that aspect of things. Defensively, they're not huge. They're nothing that they're not. They got 2 inside linebackers that are actually pretty small. Defensive line wise, there's nothing there that's real flashy. And for us to be able to go into a situation like that, we're gonna have to be able to run the football. So I think that leads to us having some advantages there. It's about our mentality, and I think we hurt ourselves when we've lost more games because of us than the other teams coming in and beating us.
Right. Yeah.
So it depends on how we show up, and if we show up and play and ready to play mentally, then I think that good things are going to happen.
Well, let's go to the lower levels. We do our weekly report there. How are the guys in the JV, 7th and 8th grade doing? How are they progressing? Are you happy with what you're seeing?
Yes, I mean, the growth in that, a lot of what I talked about last night at the bonfire was talking about those young guys.
Yeah.
I mean, because the growth is got to come from the bottom up. And our 7th grade group has had a great year. They're out there playing right now, so I was just texting to see what the score was, see if I could get a live update. But they've had a great year. I think they've got 3 losses between the 2 teams. So the growth is coming from the bottom where we need it, and I was out there on Saturday watching our Little League homecoming and watching those kids play, and it's awesome to see those kids get out there and get after it a little bit. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's some excitement around football, and it helps when we win on the varsity, no doubt, because that gets everybody else excited on the way down. But as long as we're finding ways to win at those lower levels and teaching them how to win, I think that's only going to help us down the road.
It definitely carries over. So we mentioned the bonfire a couple of times. For you guys at home, it's been a busy week here in Farmersville. We had the bonfire last night, and we did memorialize and talk about special recognition for Reg Craddock, who was a graduate of Farmersville High School in 1991. And the Craddock and the Red Wine family came out, and we really appreciate them coming out and spending some time with us and lighting the bonfire. It was one of those things that makes Farmersville special. But we've got a few more events coming up. Tomorrow is going to be homecoming game, which is also senior night, as you had mentioned. I know the weather's not going to be great. We would really love to have you guys come out and support us at the stadium, but if you can't, join us again on the FHSAV channel. And then early next week, we'll get the word out. The volleyball team is going to be in the playoffs. The first round will probably be Monday or Tuesday, but as soon as we have those details, we'll get that information out to you through social media and over our email channels, and hope you guys can join us then. So until then, Coach, good luck. For those of you at home, thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys tomorrow night, whether it's at the stadium or on the live stream. Until then, go Farmers.